Hey, it's Rob. And I've had some thoughts today. I'm all in my jammies because we didn't go out for a bike ride today, but I have been thinking about some stuff I wanted to just get out and get out there and talk about in video form. And this is a completely unedited video, so it's messy. You might need to skip around in it a lot. And that's actually for a reason that I am going to cover as well today. So this video, if you're just tuning into the video, is going to go over some interesting topics with regard to content and influence and mentorship and substance and experience and getting a job and who you should listen to and why you should listen to them and who you should seek out. And frankly, the difference between uh, marketing and substance. I mean, that's the real fundamental gist of this video. And a lot of it is me rubber ducking some ideas that I've had for a long time, beginning with one very important statement from TJ Hollowaychuk, who created Express and a number of other amazing, fantastic things. And I just love the way he paraphrased it. Lots of other people have said it before him, um, and I've been talking about it, but he said, the more likely you are to hear from someone, the less likely you are to want to hear what they have to say. The more likely you are to hear from someone, the less likely you are going to want to hear what they have to say. And the principle is simple. People who spend time marketing and editing and schmoozing, they have less time, and influencing ultimately, they have less time to spend becoming and maintaining their authority on the topic on which they are speaking. So what does that mean? That means that the people that you are going to usually want, those who you really want advice from, those who you would want to allow yourself to be influenced by, are more likely to be extremely hard to find. And if you take nothing away from this video, just consider that for a second, okay? If the first hit on a Google search for whatever it is you're looking for, the good chance it's not the best thing to look at. And this goes for Stack Exchange, this goes for YouTube, this goes for Twitch, it goes for anything. It goes for cycling, it goes for bike packing, it goes for tech, it goes for getting a job, it goes for learning whatever you want to code. Just today, just yesterday, I have 3 stories to talk about here. The first story is something that happened at work just today, actually, relatively recently. Somebody on my team, very naively and innocently, quite frankly, somebody I deeply respect, said, I've heard a lot of great things about Rust. And anybody who knows me immediately knows how funny that is. There's the Rust link. Yeah. And by the way, I don't hate Rust. I hate the hype and lies and trendiness of Rust. I don't hate Rust. I don't. I honestly, honest to God, I don't. I think it's the right thing for the right job. But the point, not this Rust versus Go kind of thing. The point is that this person hadn't done any research, and and this I don't want this video to become about this. This is just one of the stories. But the reason I'm telling you this story is because the reason this person shared this information about Rust and this, hey, we should probably look at Rust instead of Go, even though they hadn't written a line of either of them. And we've got this API developed and running in Go that's managing millions, if not billions, of dollars of machine learning jobs for a multinational corporation that will not be named ever on this stream, because I don't believe in talking about where you work. I think it's actually extremely bad form to talk about where you work. Um, You can talk about what you're doing at work, but I think talking about your employer openly in a live stream is a horrible idea. Um, and also usually a danger sign. Um, anyway, so this person had allowed themselves to be influenced by the viral conversation that has reached them. The marketing of the Rust world, include in this case, it was the conference presentation by Lars at the RustCon that said that they had no reduction in productivity whatsoever when they went from Go to Rust. Meanwhile, another engineer, Matt, who wrote an extensive blog last year about all the reasons that a startup may not want to consider Rust, and the number one reason was loss in productivity. So I'm again, that's just one of my stories, and it's not about Go or Rust. I don't want it to become that. Why did I hear from this guy? Why was this completely respectable engineer, who, by the way, sent me another link to the ancient Discord blog about how they're going to migrate to Rust, which is complete bullshit because they immediately threw it out and went with Erlang and never looked back. But Amazon cited them as well. It's also 5 years old. The point, the point I'm trying to make is, I'm trying to help anybody watching this video to not be that person. Okay, um, we're all going to be excited about new things, and we're going to share those things, and we're going to be influenced by the things that come our way. It's just natural. But what we should be doing, I think, and what I want to do, and what I want to remind everybody to do, and what I'm struggling with figuring out how to properly communicate this so that it's early in the beginner boosts, because it's such a key skill. This is such a key skill for any technologist, any knowledge worker, any human. Being able to separate the signal from the noise. It is the most important thing you can do as a tech leader. And one of the number one ways to separate signal from noise is to be around the signal more and not the noise. And to tell you the truth, if you are not working daily with whatever it is that you're choosing to communicate about, you are a part of the noise. And somebody's going to see this and they're going to take it the wrong way, and there's nothing I can do about that. But honest to God, who would you rather hear from? Would you rather hear from somebody who a project manager, for example, who has worked with their entire team to try to get Rust to work, and then it didn't work, and then they went back to Go, and now they're good? Or vice versa. I mean, you could switch the languages out. I don't care. I don't care about the language. The point is, who would you rather hear from? Who should you rather trust more? In my experience is you would be more successful if you trust those who have experience, who have tried it. And even then, you should still make your own decisions. You should still make your own decisions. You could take everything that they've told you, you should take it in, and then you should do your own evaluation, maybe even do your own pilot project in that particular case, and then make your own decisions, because you just don't know. Your team may have a completely different dynamic, whether it's Rust or Go or web services or whatever, right? And you've seen me toy with some of the clickbait titles in some of my videos on YouTube lately, and that's because I'm basically just trolling the algorithm. I think it's really funny that some of these video titles, seriously, I put like sucks into the title and I get like 5,000 hits the next day. Whereas if I have the nice, clean, happy title, I get maybe 20 views or something. So back to the topic. The topic at hand is, who should you trust, and how should you know how to trust them, and where should you get the experience? This is something that continues to be a problem, and I'm just going to put my own part of it out there. The algorithm does reward the dark side, it would seem. It does reward people who tend to be more flashy, people who put time into thumbnails. I don't do that, which is one of the reasons I will always remain a small person, a small streamer. and a small YouTuber. I don't I have no I have no aspirations to do more than that. And let's talk about. Okay, so let me first of all before we get there, that's kind of what I want to conclude with. But the second story is in the biking realm. So the other day we were biking along in the Peninsula Club here, and you're welcome to go back and watch the VOD. I don't believe I published any of those clips to YouTube, but I think it's all on Twitch. But I mean, I'll be back there again. But we went absolutely fantastic, gorgeous scenery. And I'm not using this so much to plug the stream as much as just to give you a sense of it. Um, but there's actually one scene. Did you get clipped? Does anybody know if it got clipped? I wonder if it got clipped. If it got clipped, I can go show you. Let me go see if I can find if I can go see if it maybe got clipped. I didn't see all the clips. Um, Unlock the Goblin Pass, Peak Family, Melvin. Anyway, yeah, I don't, snot cam. Somebody clipped the snot cam, really? Um, it doesn't look like it got clipped. Anyway, Melvin, yay. Um, what it was is it was a moment, and again, like if I had a full editor team, this is where they would put the fancy video and everything. I'm just telling you to go look for it. It's someplace in there. This is why my content is not as good. But I'm going to make a case at the end of this stream that that's actually what you want to look for, as opposed to somebody who has very highly edited content. Because the more edited the content are, the more they're expending time, energy, and money toward making it look super pretty, as opposed to talking about the content. It doesn't mean that you have to find the gems of nuggets in there. Yeah, you absolutely do. We're going to get to there again. So here's the story. So I was riding along at the Peninsula Club, and it's fancy place. We passed one home that was $16 million on the edge here. Absolutely amazing. The video was lower quality because we're out of bandwidth this month. Because I don't spend a lot of money on that. I actually have a job and stuff, and we're gonna get to that later too. Um, and I got passed. I got passed by this guy who was riding a $12,000 Cervelo, and stuffed his rather large body. I'm sorry for being so mean, but into you know, a bunch, probably a $500 kit. You're like, Rob, why are you hating on this poor old man, in the riding his bike around in the Peninsula area? And to tell you the truth, it's because of the there's a reason. And I honestly, I am so happy for the guy. And I told him, yeah, and I let him pass me and everything. And, he looked really happy. He looked like a nice guy. There's really nothing. This is not an attack on tubby old guys riding expensive bikes at in the Peninsula Club. But it's drawing a contrast because as soon as I saw him, it motivated me. It motivated me, and you can say this is a bad thing or not. That's up to you. I don't care. But it motivated me to be a man of substance and not flash. Somebody who does bike 80 kilometers a day every day, and who maintains the fitness for that and the community for that, and who also is able to hang with pro pelotons of people in their 30s and 40s, as well as still have fun and stay casual and all of those great things, as opposed to being, that person who, for whatever reason, maybe that I don't want to. It sounds too judgmental because I don't know the person's circumstance. If you're only going to get out on your bike for an hour a day, and you're ultra rich and you have another job and all that stuff, I can't judge him. But what I can do is I can say what I want to be, right? And so I did. I snickered at that guy a little bit, and it wasn't so much at him. It was at the idea of it. It was that the idea of these people who show up to these group rides. There's a streamer I absolutely love, Decline. He's up in Oregon, and he talks about why he never wants to do group rides anymore. And he said many reasons. But one of the reasons that he doesn't want to do group rides is because of the show. Not every group ride is like this, but it's the show. It's like my bike is better than yours. Your bike is better than mine. Um, you know, and and all of that, and that has largely changed in America. And you could almost say that the spirit of gravel. That's like everybody should be able to ride and promote it, and treated fairly, and we should all be able to have fun together. And I agree with that. I agree with that. But how does this relate to the whole substance, sort of signal versus noise kind of idea? And I think that you can, you know, you can make somebody. I would rather be the person who. There are other words for this, by the way, that are much more uh, crass, and I'm trying to avoid those words. Sigma energy comes to mind. Um, and that comes from knowing that you have the skill, you have the ability. You know why? Because you do it every day. It's a part of you. You don't have anything to prove. You're not trying to, convince somebody that you are one way. They just know. And even if they don't know, you don't need them to necessarily know. If they actually care to truly know, then eventually they'll come around and they'll come to you and they'll figure it out. And then the last story I have is the company that I started in 2013 when there was no we're making a video, Mark. So uh in 2013 I started a company with my own retirement money because nobody was teaching coding to kids in particular. And I took a 40% loss on my retirement money, took it out, started SkillStack in 2013. And there's videos on that. You can go watch that. People know that about me. Um, and I did it my own way, and I made it up, and it was extremely successful. And I've had tons of people over the years come back, and they're go to skillstack.io. It's filled with testimonials of people's lives were changed. Blah blah blah. That's not so much a flex, it's so much just to give you context. I never once advertised that company. Not once. In fact, our website, for the most part, most of the time, our website was made by the kids and it was totally crap. But we didn't care because we knew that the power of signal versus noise outweighed it. And this signal, by the way, in this particular case, was word of mouth. And trusting another human is always better than trusting some personality on the internet. Always. Whether it be me, it's, in my opinion, getting to know another person. And sure, you can use the internet for that, but getting to know another person and getting familiar with them and what it is that they do for a job or work or hobby, those things are always going to be better than the people that that are going to be pushing themselves in front of you. And so I didn't have to advertise anything. I had a very successful business and helped thousands of people, and I was fine. I was totally fine, and I was able to quit my full time job, and I did it. That's how I did it. And it was, I mean, I taught the kids. I taught the kids from the CIO of Bank of America recommended his kid, who then recommended me to this, and the son of the CTO of PayPal, who went to write a check and said, "Hey," I said, "Do you know about PayPal?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm the CTO." True story. I've had, I can go on and on. The children, uh, and sometimes adults who are related, directors of technology for colleges, you would know. I've been on the advisory board for several colleges. The reason that I'm telling you this is not to brag, but it is kind of to draw a distinction. Because the reason that people wanted to hear from me and these people wanted to learn from me was because I had so much experience working with in the industry, in the job market. And I had so much experience helping other people get jobs in the job market. And for a large percentage of that time, so from till about 2015, I actually still worked And that's the final thing that I want to talk about. Usually, I mean, I have to be really careful here because I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and there's this really horrible thing that so many people will say, those who can't do teach. I absolutely am not saying that. I'm very specifically saying to you now that that is not what I'm saying. Um, but the basis of that saying is worth looking at. The reason that people say that is because they think that somebody has tried to make it in the professional realm or in whatever case and failed, and therefore they've fallen back to being a quote teacher, right? There's like so many things wrong with that statement. I could do a whole video just on that. Not the least of which is the the devaluing of the role of an educator in our society. I mean, that's probably the biggest and ugliest one. Pardon my swear word, but it's fucking hard to help other people learn. And that's a skill all by itself. And I guarantee you that the people who are doing this skill are not. That's my only swear word for this video, but it was legitimate. And there are definitely people in the world, in the doing it, who could never teach it. They could never share it. They could never get anybody to even care. And I think this is really important because this particular skill, the skill of making otherwise boring, I suppose, content, for lack of a better word, approachable, and making it interesting and making it worth like engaging in, and even sort of enticing. How do you make something enticing? Everyone who's listening to me right now has had somebody who has helped to make a topic that was otherwise extremely boring very enticing, right? And I mean, I know I have, and we talk about them in the booth sometimes. Some of the people who influenced me, and when I say influenced, I mean teachers in the classroom and people like that. I'm not talking about the traditional internet influencer, which I am going to come back to. So this idea of this skill that these people have that help other people to learn, particularly those outside of the traditional realm who have figured out how to help people find mentorship and things, it's a real skill, and there are very few people who can do it and make it entertaining. Patch Adams, Patch Adams and Dead Poets Society are probably two of my. Patch Adams is my top 10. Dead Poets is probably my number one or two favorite movie of all time. And if you haven't seen Dead Poets Society, you need to watch it because that's a perfect example of somebody who was able to take a topic and help other people learn. But the important thing it's fiction, but the message there is that there was a lot of signal and very little noise. He had a stylistic approach to how he would, get people to learn about English, and literature, but ultimately he had a deep, abiding internal love and experience with English literature in that movie. And not to mention just a genuine love for the people that were in his realm, and he cared. I mean, truly cared about them. Not everybody in that movie, not everybody got along with him, but he went out of his way to make sure to help them. So there's an example of a good mentor, a good teacher. I don't like the word teacher, but some of you know it's just a bad word. Mentor, learner, helping other people learn, whatever. So high signal to noise ratio, but a stylistic approach. So what I'm trying to say is that the skill of helping people become interested um, can also turn into noise. And I think that's the point I'm trying to get to. There are so many people on the internet who will add noise who don't have the skill, either because they don't have the experience, or and they also, many of them don't even have the skill to help others learn. And there's one thing to be a clown. I'm referencing Patch Adams there. It's one thing to be a clown and put a nose on and everything, and get people interested, and make them forget about their woes and everything. It's another one to do that with no substance at all, and never have it turn into anything. Um, you gonna play the goat right now? Oh, damn. So my point is that I, as we're looking for um, value, when you are out looking for, like, how do I learn? Where do I go to learn? Who do I learn from? Who do I listen to? And this is ultimately up to you. This is ultimately up to you. I cannot tell you what to do. All I can say is just be aware of the signal to noise ratio. And then at the end of the video, I do want to give you some ways to know. So, number one, it's usually going to be somebody that you already know. Um, that means there's probably somebody, as you seek mentorship and you seek how to learn, there's probably somebody that you already know that you trust that is in your circle. And a family member, a friend of a friend, a teacher, um, sometimes a TA. I remember when I was in calculus class, it was the TA that I really leaned on. He was amazing. I'll go to the math lab all the time. He was the helpful one. So look in your immediate realm for people who are in your meetup groups, that kind of thing. Those are going to be more likely going to be the kind of people that you want to hear from. And number two, they're probably going to be employed. They're going to have a job. Either they, and by the way, that means willingly choosing to keep a job, even if they want to do something to help others learn. And I'm specifically referencing the Boy Scouts of America program in this situation. I've talked about this before. There's many things the Boy Scout program does kind of questionably, but I just want to say that the Boy Scouts are, um, in terms, their mentorship program is beautiful. It's beautifully constructed, and let me tell you what they do. And this is what I'm trying to tell you to look for, right? Because this is well established as working. That the Boy Scout program and the merit badge system, whether you believe in the Boy Scouts or not, this system is actually really, really well tested and works well. What they do is they got to get a bunch of volunteers who have expertise in a particular field, to use their free time to help these autodidactic young learners, scouts, who entirely control all the factors related to what they're learning and how they learn themselves. They are in charge of doing it. No one's going to force them, except for maybe their mom or dad, to go get that merit badge. Right? They have to show internal motivation and leadership to learn it, and to set out about the process of learning it. And that means seeking out a merit badge counselor from among a list sometimes, but oftentimes there is no list. They have to find one. So they have to go out to these subject matter experts, to use a term from the industry, and merit badge counselors, whatever, and get them to become a merit badge counselor, and then organize their assignments and everything so that they can come in and check in with them, and they can minimize the amount of time they spend with the people that are doing the mentoring, because they have jobs. They're doing it all the time, whether it's a hobby or it's a full-time job. They are regularly, the people that are doing the counseling are not somebody who learned it in a book. There are people that are doing it. Some depends on the topic, but they're doing it. They're doing it every day. And I so this it's not rocket science. I mean, to say that you're going to have a better chance of successfully learning something from somebody who's passionate and employed, potentially doing the thing, than from somebody who is doing it, and even somebody who may have done it for 40 years, especially tech. Oh my God. Tech changes literally every month. And why would you seek out mentorship from somebody who is not employed in the tech industry? I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Maybe there's probably an isolated case where, somebody they spend their entire time. I mean, I think about when I was at SkillStack, there were about 5 years while I was there where I was not employed, And to be completely honest, Docker containers came out during that time while I was unemployed. Um, Rust and Go both got big, and I was plugged in enough to know Go was going to be the one to use, and I kept it, and I learned it in 2013. Um, but in terms of like containerization and VMs and stuff, I didn't need to use it every day, so I didn't do it every day. Could I have learned it? Yes. Was I exposed to it every day? No, because it wasn't a part of my job. I wasn't in the business industry. I had been in the business, in the tech business for over 20 years, 25 years, so I knew how the business worked and stuff. And I had a lot of experience on different projects for different companies. And I was older, but I look back now. I have I have a 9 to 5. That's not 9 to 5, but I have a 40-hour full time job for a very conservative company that's doing amazing things, multinational, making a ton of money, more than I ever made at SkillStack as a teacher, and I am exposed daily to the needs of business, including the impact of machine learning, the exact machine learning things that are happening. I've been exposed to some of the stuff NVIDIA is doing that nobody even knows about because NVIDIA has partnerships with our company. Not the details, not too many details, but I'm at least privy to some of the things that are happening behind the scenes. So having this full time job, which this is why I've been kind of contemplating all of this recently, because I openly said very recently that over the next 5 years I want to eventually be able to go back to doing the skill stack, and doing the mentoring thing. But I'm really conflicted because having that full time job, even though it takes a ton of time away, informs every single thing that I do. It does. It informs every single thing. And God, there's been at least 3 projects over the last 2 months uh, that directly came from work that I would never have even thought about them if I were just being an influencer. If I was just talking to people and trying to read the local news of the day and make it, and make videos about it. There's no way you would have had the relevance. I would never have discovered the differences between ASCII doc. I would never know about make docs. Those are relatively trivial, but that's just an example, right? The stuff that we're doing with the OAuth sidecars right now, which I'm going to do a full video on very soon, that OAuth sidecar exposure and how that can help enable OAuth authentication in the front of any microservice, that work that I'm doing during the day that I can now talk about on a stream, it never would have happened if I had just become a full-time influencer. So the question is, for all of us, is like, I do think there's a certain amount of runway you have before you start to get out of favor with it. And there's an opposite problem here too that is probably worth mentioning. That is getting too embedded into and busy with your full-time job that you don't have time to keep up. You don't have time to explore. You don't have time to look at what's out there. And then you get stale. I've seen that problem with IBM. It was all over. It was a chronic issue all over within IBM. So many people are like, "Oh, I'm going to retire soon. I don't really need to learn anything new." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Because so it's a two-sided coin sort of thing. I personally think that the objective result of this, the conclusion is, you should always seek out expertise from people who are doing it on the job when possible, and that's where you should get your advice and motivation from. And if you are one of these people who wants to start helping, if you want to be the quote merit badge counselor, and you want to help, one of the things that I kept finding over and over again as I ran SkillStack was that there are many capable adult professionals who have no idea how to help people learn. They have a desire to do it, but they have no idea. In fact, at one point I tried to pivot the entire focus of the company towards just focusing on content that would help anyone start their own mentorship. situation, and I still believe in that. I still believe that more people they write themselves off saying, "Oh, I can never be a mentor. I don't know enough." Blah blah blah. There's like some line that they think they have to achieve. No, if you're working and you're employed and you know more than the other person who's never done it before, you're already qualified to be a mentor. Period. You don't need to go through. I mean, humanity has been living through that level of accreditation since the dawn of time. You don't need a credential. Certainly, other people can have more experience than others, but so this is the kind of the sort of the call to arms here is if you are a professional and you're currently employed, one of the best ways we could address this and we could improve the situation and improve the signal to noise ratio for everyone who wants to learn is to get more people who actually are doing the job on the job who are staying current and getting more of them to take on one or two or three or 10 individuals who they basically just share their time with them and they let them know what they should be the kids, the people that are going to them should be driving the questions and what it is. The person who's sharing their expertise is just sharing their expertise. They don't really need to create a curriculum or any of that. They can just share what it is and answer questions and maybe help them become autodidactic in their approach to their own learning so that they take it on themselves. But the extreme danger, the extreme danger here is influencers. And you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to tell you, right? And it's not just influencers, but it's also flash. The flashier, the more likely someone is to cater to the algorithm, unless they're trolling the algorithm. uh, the more, God, I could, yeah, yeah, Rob the influencer. Yeah, says Rob the influencer. I have been joking about being more of an influencer a lot lately, and this my Victoria's Secret underwear, yes, and being silly and having fun and all of that, and I don't have anything wrong with that as long as there's some substance there as well. But I have concluded as pretty definitively, and I know that's hard for me to say because I change my mind all the time. But this recent reflection has helped me to conclude that I I will retire, but when I retire, my amount of technical advice and mentoring will drop to near zero because I no longer feel qualified to help people get in. I help them get jobs, maybe help them break into the industry, teach them how to think for themselves and all of that sort of thing. Those are skills that you don't lose just because you don't have a job. But you definitely, especially in tech, you lose the skill as soon as you stop working full time. You start to degrade at a very fast pace. And if you are not regularly building projects that matter in ways that other people want to learn, and that really depends, right? There might be somebody who just, wants to do something that their full-time commitment is not the same as what you want. So and this is particularly true if you want to get a job in enterprise of any kind. And I'm not talking about Silicon Valley, I'm talking about in tech, in the corporate arena for the most part, or nonprofit for that matter. But if you, tech or otherwise, you need to keep your skills up. So I don't see how you can keep your skills up and not have a job. Bottom line, and especially in tech. So I personally have been even more dedicated to making sure that the very few people who do find me have something of value because they did find me. And I'm not just talking about the bike stuff. So like when I do tech stuff or when I'm talking about uh, what I think of like the recent vulnerability that hit. Somebody was asking about the recent vulnerability in Secure Shell or in the compression algorithm. I can talk all about it because the guy who actually found it, one of the guys who helped to find it and report it, is the leader of the Go encryption team. Um, It's all old and broken. I found you and I have nothing about you. It's all old and broken. But so anyway, and by the way, since I've started to do a lot more biking and everything, honestly, I feel like my expertise in that area has increased quite a bit because I've been doing it. It's kind of crazy because I couldn't even fix my bike, when I started doing it, but that skill kind of went up. And so, and how to get healthy, I can talk about that because it's fresh on my mind. Whatever the topic, it's not necessarily tech. Whatever the topic, seek out mentors that are actually doing it, and avoid influencers. Influencers are, in my opinion, they're the plague on the internet. They Influencers regularly do and say things for the sake of influence. There's happy, that are not relevant. That's all. So you found the extensions bundle? Yay, happy. So, and yes, we have stickers. I'm not saying don't have fun. I'm not saying don't have fun. I think you should have fun, but I think it's really important that as you're seeking out influencers and people to learn from and people to answer your questions and stuff, that you seek out personal people from your personal circle of trust first, and then you seek to expand the number of people that are in that circle of trust by going to local meetups, or by talking to people who actually have jobs, and as a last resort, going on the internet, or Twitch or YouTube, and seeking out people who have jobs in or who are doing the things that you want to do. Um, and I don't have to tell you, there's tons and tons of people. Yeah, influencers are the guys that write BuzzFeed articles, right? Um, and I'm being very careful here not to refer to any specific source, or specific person, or specific streamer, or specific group of streamers, or even specific industry or topic. This is just a general policy. Look for stronger signal to noise ratio, and you're going to find stronger signal among people who are employed, who are doing the job every day, and who are not who also are connected to trends in the industry and can help identify the signal to noise in those trends. So they can say, this is, everybody likes this, but that's not where the work is being done. Here's where the work is being done. The people who have the practical wisdom are going to be the people who are employed 9 times out of 10. And so those are the people to look for. And then make YouTube clickbait videos. Anyway, so that's all I have to say about that. And again, it goes for anything. It goes for cycling. The thing about I'll end kind of on a funny note, hopefully. Um, and model panties, yeah, people like me. So I have been having a lot of fun on my stream lately. And happy. I've been trying to make it more light, but I also feel like that's okay as long as there's still some substance there. And anyway, so that particular biker, when he passed me, um, I joked about my goal in life is to like totally destroy somebody like him in like some sort of like regional community race. And I kind of imagined, I role played kind of how that would go. Um, Having fun. I think having fun is substance, and I don't want people to just to misunderstand, but yeah. So I was gonna be like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna totally. I want to be able to blow away all the chubby guys in on expensive bikes, because to me that's like, I don't know, the sigma energy of it is like, no, I'm the real deal. I want to be the real deal. I would rather be the real deal with no teeth, and sitting in an apartment, uh, and riding a leftover bike, that literally a grandma gave me, then I just think it would be so much more satisfying, right? Um, to win, right? It's like, oh yeah. I think it'd just be more. That's my personal goal. My personal goal is to be so stinking good at everything that I do that I actually don't have to flex. Obviously, I flex all the time. I mean, people take what I do on Twitch as a flex constantly. Um, but you know, I would like to be able to not have to flex. I would like people to just see my code and go, "This is awesome," all by itself, and do all the word of mouth for me, like they did for my business in 2013. I didn't have to. I didn't have to flex at all. I didn't have to market at all. It was just the word of mouth just spread like wildfire to some of the most important, influential people in the entire region. And I'm very happy to say that I was able to influence several major schools, and they all added clubs and stuff, and I was helped to direct that indirectly through the people that I mentored, who then had influence. And then I was called. I had three actually, three different private schools called me, and they said, and I quote, "We hear you're the guy to talk to when it comes to helping people learn tech skills and how to code. Do you want to come work for us?" And I eventually took one at Woodlawn, among the other ones. The point is that if you focus, my wife and I talk about this all the time too, because the art world, believe it or not, has a lot of commonality here. If if you There are the people who call themselves artists, and then there's the people who everybody else calls an artist, right? And if you, it's the same with writing, by the way. If you declare yourself a writer in in writer circles, you better be damn careful about that, because writers are apparently they're very particular about declaring their writership. Specifically, you need to be published, but that's all changing and everything. So I think as a personal goal for myself, as well as a suggested goal for others, you should seek to have substance over flash. Um, and if that means that you have abs, but you know nobody can see them, you know what I mean? Confidence versus arrogance. Yes, that's an interesting distinction, Jalopy. Yeah, I like that one. Skills versus claims. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, I'm speaking to myself here too. I can always do better. I can always do better at building a skill instead of talking about building a skill, or helping people get jobs instead of talking about helping people get skills that are going to get them the jobs, um, and that kind of thing. It's the one who can walk the walk. Yeah, yeah. It's like, where does the rubber hit the road? Who's actually doing it, right? And those are the people you want to seek out. Unfortunately, they are extremely hard to find. They are. They're hard to find, and this video has been way longer than I would have ever wanted to talk about in a beginner boost, but that's really the takeaway. The takeaway is, what are the skills that you need to develop to identify, first of all, to find, I mean, there's a whole step that we haven't even talked about identifying what it is you want to do. But once you know that, then you have to identify, how am I going to learn this? And a big piece of how am I going to learn this boils down to identifying authorities and people you trust to help you learn. And that is a huge topic all by itself. But when it comes to the mentorship part and the actual people, when it comes to getting a job as well as learning the skills from another human being directly, that's what we're talking about. And looking for those people, and identifying them in your own circles of trust is a real key skill, and it's going to be very important for you to spend time doing it the right way and knowing the perils of it, right? Um, and I guarantee you, it's like, don't ever read the first answer on Stack Exchange, right? The first person to hit on YouTube, probably not the one to go to. The person who has this stupid ass thumbnail because they've given in to the algorithm. Unless you know that they're just playing with the algorithm in order to get the view, which I am toying with, by the way, then yeah, keep an idols per topic list. That's actually, it's funny you say that, Maliba. From back when you could do Twitter, I used to have a list of the people that very, very infrequently would they send a tweet at all. And Mastodon and everything's kind of screwed this up. I don't have that following like I used to do, but it was like a professional learning network, right? And these are people, and this is the whole basis of the knowledge exchange grid that I wanted to push which obviously I put on the back burner, way back burner. But the idea of it is that you identify who are authorities, and if you don't know who they are, find somebody who trusts who's in the industry and see who they recommend, and then then make your own evaluation and create that list and put that list on you could do it in Twitter, or you could just be in a spreadsheet or whatever, but some way to keep track of those people, because when they say something, when they blog something, when they commit something to GitHub, you want to see it. You really want to see it. You want to know. And by the way, some of them you might want to sponsor. I sponsor 3 or 4 people on GitHub because they've created really amazing stuff that I really like, and they don't say very much, but when they do, boy, I want to know. So yeah, Black Ops, I think be the one that cause you track you down. Yeah. So that's the end of this video. It's kind of a long-winded video, but the takeaway is just seek people who are doing what it is that you want to learn above everybody else, and that are actually in many cases paid to do that, whether it be because they're independently employed or because they actually have a job getting paid, making somebody else is trusting them to do what you want to learn. So that's the people to go look for. That's all.